3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for April 8th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, a total solar eclipse only happens every once in a while, but Game Mess Mornings is once in a lifetime, every single day, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Emma Fife, everybody. Emma, how are you doing?
I'm so glad to be part of this historic event because nobody has ever talked about video games on a Monday morning in the history of ever.
Exactly. They will remember this. We will do it again in every 40 years or so. It's going to be real special. Yep. I'm excited about the eclipse. We were just talking about it. I live dead center in the path of totality, as I've told people. The weather reports have been kind of grim for the last little bit, but they've been grim everywhere. Apparently, Texas is having a big storm. I looked out, and it's like the kind of partly cloudy where I see the sun very often. So at the very least, I think we're going to get the effect of, like, you know, what it looks like around the world when we're, you know, in your environment when the sun is blocked out by the moon. Yeah. But boy, I hope I'm able to, like, just observe it. Like, it's you know, rolling the dice.
The sun is pretty powerful. Yes. And with your eclipse glasses, they are the only thing you can see is the sun.
Yes.
So while your view of the sun might be a little bit diminished by the clouds, I'm sure that you'll still be able to see it.
Especially
as long
if it's
as
like
it's
these
not
hazy kind of clouds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've had those like complete overcast the last couple of days. Well, not every single day, but for a couple of the last couple of days, it's been like that. And I'm like, man, I don't think we'd see shit if it was like this. But as it is right now, I am hopeful. But it's, you know, one of those things you can't control.
No.
Well, especially you could try to drive somewhere else, right? But
sure,
that's just as much. It's just as risky because it's like it could be bad there, and then you could have stayed home and found out the weather was fine at home or something like that. So we did decide over the weekend we are just going to plop down here and roll the dice.
This is what we really need Storm from the X-Men for. Just control the weather so that people in the path of totality can see the total eclipse. In Los Angeles, we're going to get a partial eclipse, but of course it is so clear, and it was raining recently, so the skies are extra clear.
Right.
But alas, only partial.
I did think a lot about the Olympics that happened in China, where there was like reports of them like shooting cannons up at clouds to like disperse them. I'm like, let's just do that. Let's just do that.
Yeah, perfect. Done.
That seemed to work, I think. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the results, but I like the idea of shooting clouds. Like that alone, that's got me. So let's go for it. All right. I do have something important to ask you, Emma. Okay. There is a scene. Actually, okay. I should actually get this up. Give me a second while so you can
I'm
actually
so
hear.
ready.
So you could hear the scene. I'm gonna bring up my Twitter here. .com/show. Are you familiar with the American film Jurassic Park?
I am very familiar with the American classic directed by Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park.
All right, awesome. Let me make sure that you're gonna hear this. I think you should hear this, but let me just double check.
Cool.
Do you hear that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let me just make sure the chat hears that. All right, so this is a scene where they're talking. I don't know.
Yep.
There you go. That's the setup. Here, listen to this conversation.
Overwhelmed by the power of this place, but I made a mistake too. I didn't have enough respect for that power, and it's out now.
When she says, I did not have enough respect for that power and it's out now, is she talking about the metaphorical power of dinosaurs and humanity's grasp over nature and now it has been unleashed? Or is she talking about the electricity at the park called Jurassic Park?
You know, it's very funny because I was thinking about the exact context of that scene being that.
It is. The electricity's
out. The power
out.
has literally gone out.
And has been out for like a very long time at this point, but yes.
Yes. I think, I honestly think she's talking about the electricity.
Yes! We found one! Okay. But so why does she start talking about, like, I did not respect that power of this place?
I made a mistake too. I didn't have enough respect for that power, and it's out now.
she took for granted that power was going to be enough to contain the dinosaurs.
Oh, okay. So wait, metaphorically, she's absolutely including everything that humanity does to harness nature. Yes. But when she says the power, it's out now. Is that referring to the power outage, the literal power outage?
That's the dinosaurs being out.
Yes. Yeah.
The power outage. I'm still on board with it being the power outage.
Right. So you agree with Ben Hansen, who does go on to make that argument. Emma, I just can't see it. I understand how people arrive at this, I guess, but for me, it's like, no, they're clearly talking about the metaphorical power of the dinosaurs. Well, and sure, all this other stuff is included in that, but the power is out now does not refer to the power outage, in my opinion.
It does refer to the power outage, in my opinion. And and again, this is that basically the whole thing is a metaphor, but it's like but literally that's what it is the power outage is the metaphorical representation of dinosaurs. And again, and it does encompass something even bigger, as you say, which is like she took for granted how powerful human electricity is, which is harnessed by human beings. Obviously, it is something that exists, but we as humans have to generate it. And it's like, no. The power of the dinosaurs is greater than the power of humanity, which is why we never coexisted. And now this feeble power of man that she believed could contain the dinosaurs and make this safe because she wanted to be able to interact with dinosaurs was her lifelong dream. She's a paleontologist, but the power of man hath failed.
I will, for the people that are hearing this and are so angry that later today they're going to blot out the sun. I'll just read what Austin Walker said here, who I feel had like the best summation of my position. He says, out like free, out like out of its cage, the power, parentheses, the sublime might of dinosaurs and the incredible hubristic science which wrought them out of time is no longer contained. In fact, that containment was always an illusion, which is how that line actually starts. If you go back further, she's like, it was an illusion, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is my position, 100%. Sure. Really, though, I blame Ben Hansen. As always, I blame Ben Hansen for bringing this all up. He is going to tear gaming media apart, and this is what we deserve. So, yeah, but like I said, I'll blot out the sun later today out of anger. Thank you so much, Emma. I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun.
No problem.
All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of my own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Xbox forms new game preservation and platforms teams and moves AI division under hardware. This is from James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. Microsoft has seen more changes behind the scene, including the creation of 2 new teams dedicated to experiences and platform, as well as game preservation. Windows Central reported that Xbox Emerging Technologies, a relatively new team believed to be primarily focused on AI, has now been moved into the Xbox hardware division, which is led by Roanna Sonas in order to accelerate innovation in that space. The emerging tech team was previously led by corporate vice president Kareem Chowdhury, who's exited the company. We'll talk about that in a second. There are 2 new teams within Xbox, one being an organization known as Xbox Experiences and Platforms, which is said to be focused on improving the overall user experience on both Xbox consoles and Windows. This is led by Ashley McKissick and Kevin Gamble. Meanwhile, an internal email from Xbox President Sarah Bond, also reported by Windows Central, revealed the platform holder has created a new team that is focused on ensuring titles are playable on future Xbox devices. We have formed a new team dedicated to game preservation, important to all of us at Xbox and the industry itself, Bond wrote. We are building on our strong history of delivering backwards compatibility to our players, and we remain committed to bringing forward the amazing library of Xbox games for future generations of players to enjoy. That's where I kind of want to focus for this story, Emma, is on the backward compatibility. This is something that they had a big focus on for years and years, where it looked like they had these games that ran on Xbox and Xbox 360, and they're like, hey, we want to make sure that stuff's playable on Xbox One and then eventually Xbox Series X and S. They sort of tampered down that effort as they got to a point where they're like, hey, pretty much every game that we could feasibly or legally adapt for the new console, we've already done that, and there's not much point in keeping them around. Now, this team's coming back, and at this point, it feels like likely it's not about continuing that work. It is about making sure games that now are out today, and including the ones they've made backward compatibility from Xbox and Xbox 360, but then Xbox One and now Xbox Series X and S games, making sure they work on devices going forward. And I think that's notable because the assumption I think a lot of people would make is that the future Xboxes will be very similar in architecture to the current Xboxes. Basically PCs with a shroud on it that makes it look like a console. So
yeah, it's a PC you plug into your TV.
Exactly. So why would you need a backward compatibility team to make sure those games keep working? Unless maybe they are going to change the architecture, something that has been rumored, something that they were like looking at in the FTC filings that got leaked.
Right.
So, hey, we might switch over to ARM-based processors or something like that. And in that case, they would need a backward compatibility team because they do want to make sure all these games are working. Do you think I'm like on the right, am I sniffing down the right lane here or what?
Yeah, I think so, because as you say, I mean, as soon as you're dealing with a PC, those files, you get a new PC and you can just play them on your new PC. There's no issue of backwards compatibility. And certainly that is the way that Xbox has operated hitherto effectively. But yeah, it is interesting that they have a backwards compatibility. I mean, what struck me about it was again, this idea of game preservation, which is something that I think has only very recently actually come into focus as we've become really aware of the fact that like video game history has not actually been very well preserved. I mean, you look at any old gaming magazine and there are just so many titles that you have never ever heard of. You probably did hear about them, but they went in one ear and out the other, and they just don't exist in your brain or anywhere to play anymore. And so I do think that, that with the advent of backwards compatibility is when we started to actually see that game preservation come into play. And certainly companies have gone back and been like, we should do a re-release of this game because actually it was good. But yeah, I mean, but again, as you say with Xbox, this hasn't really been any kind of concern. And there is, again, of course, the issue of who actually owns the rights to this game. And, do we have the ability to even go about preserving this and putting this in a situation where it is a backwards compatible game? But again, that to me is where you want to focus on, okay, well, if this game ever existed on our platform, then it should be playable on any version of this platform going forward. I remember like the first time backwards compatibility I ever experienced it was like the PlayStation 2. I could play my PlayStation 1 games on it. It was like, whoa, this is absolutely wild, because that hadn't really been done with consoles before.
Not really, no, yeah.
Not in any significant way. No. So yeah, it's just, but yeah, I mean, but as you say, it's like hasn't been an issue for Xbox. So what is going on in terms of the next generation of Xbox that this is something that needs to be focused on?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, you have a team working on backward compatibility at Xbox up until this point because, you have to have a team that can build the technologies.
Right.
But it also takes a team to handle what you were suggesting, the Byzantine laws of making sure that all the copyright is accounted for, making sure that you have permission to put it on something that technically would be a new platform. And so you have to get a new licensing agreement, all this stuff. Just get the green light from these companies. That means tracking down people that maybe, for games from developers that are defunct or whatever, tracking down the current rights holder. That is it's a labor intensive process. And they have said, not recently, as they were winding down the backward compatibility team originally, they said, hey, we have basically done every single game that we could possibly do. The team, every game that's left it's just too complicated or literally impossible based on not knowing who is the rights holder or any number of other things, or the game contains the likeness of someone who is, would never give us permission.
There was a limited,
right, exactly. So, and it's just too much work. So again, I think they are in a position now where they're probably looking at the current library and like, hey, there is an understanding now that these games should carry forward. If we get started on that work now with the goal of maybe moving to new architecture that would cause every single game to break unless we were to have a compatibility layer or some little emulator that would run on that device to to behave like an Xbox Series X or an Xbox One. In that case, maybe we can get these developers and these publishers to understand that these games should just keep going forward now to make that process way easier in the future and kind of actually make it seamless. So they never stop working. It's like, no, of course they're just like moving on to the next thing. I think they're in a position now where they can convince developers and publishers that that's the right course of action. And at the same time, they probably are eyeing every option for what their new hardware can look like. Maybe not necessarily the very next generation, but down the line, they keep talking about these handheld PCs. At a certain point, ARM or x86 is going to win that battle. And ARM is the very efficient thing that is in like the new Macs and stuff that, I actually just got a MacBook Air, my first Mac, and it's like, man, the battery life on this thing is incredible. And I'm not noticing any performance issues with this M1 chip. And that's the first generation of stuff that they put out. So it's like that, that's what ARM can do. And then x86 is like, hey, the Ryzens are getting very, very efficient for an x86 chip, and they're still relatively powerful. But then you compare them side by side, it's like that's a long way away from what ARM can do in terms of efficiency. And ARM's power is actually kind of catching up to x86 in a lot of ways. I think Microsoft's in a position where they're like looking at both, and they're like trying to make sure that they can choose whichever route when the time comes. And I think in the end, the way things are trending right now, it looks like ARM is probably going to win that battle. So they continue to struggle to get like Windows running on ARM in a really strong way. So it's like with gaming, maybe they can like just rip that Band-Aid off and go for it. The only way they'd be able to do that, right, Emma, is if they have the backward compatibility ready to go, because people want their digital library to continue, right?
Oh yeah, to carry over, obviously. And it's really interesting, having this discussion. It sounds like right now, most likely what this backwards compatibility team is primarily a legal team. Like at this point, it's legal proceedings with publishers being like, hey, we basically want you to sign over unlimited rights to this so that if we were to switch over our operating system, basically we can effectively do that to these titles so people's digital libraries will carry over. I mean, it is a smart move on Xbox's part, because that puts them in a position wherein they are able to adapt as this goes forward.
And then the other story out of this is Kareem Chowdhury, who is a longtime executive at Xbox, who had recently kind of started up this AI division. He's left, and the AI division is moving under the hardware team. I want to ask, what do you think the future is of AI and a console maker like Xbox, specifically Microsoft? Microsoft seems like the kind of company that is not going to not investigate AI.
Of course, they're not going to not investigate AI.
I mean, what does that look like to you?
Look, this is the thing about AI is I've seen a lot of people having this discussion that AI is being used for the wrong things. Like, I want AI to do my laundry and clean my house, and I want to be left alone to do the creative stuff. However, in game development, there's a lot of laundry to be done. Yes, there's a lot of laundry to be done.
Yeah, it's
so kind of, to me, that's an effective use of AI.
It can be. I think when it comes to video games, my position continues to be, until not proven otherwise, but like it's a little bit more evidence to suggest it could be completely bad. My position continues to be that video games are such a competitive place that using something that is a shortcut likely will just lead to people being like, okay, this frees us up to do all those other things we never had time to do before. So now that this is stuff we can focus the human efforts on to separate our game from the competition. I'm hopeful that is how it plays out, but I'm appreciative of all of the arguments of how it could cause people to lose jobs, because we've seen that is something that companies are ready and raring to do in so many scenarios. So of course that could be the final situation here, but they're going to use AI in these games. They're going to do it 100%. They were likely already doing it in many ways.
It's just I don't know. At this point, I feel like humans still, like, it still requires a human to do the inputs to operate the AI. And so one would hope, again, that effectively you would be using these AIs as assistants to human workers.
Yeah.
So again, as you say, they can focus the human effort on the stuff that really, really matters. And you just hope that the AI isn't going to eliminate some of those back-end positions that would be doing those sort of laundry jobs, so to speak.
And it might, but yeah, I mean, I thought the same. When has that ever happened? I mean, that, to be fair, that is 100% the story of technology throughout the history of mankind. Like, we've had technology improve efficiencies that would take away jobs, and then there more jobs were always created afterward. There's usually, I mean, that's the Luddites. That's the whole thing. The Luddites were destroying not the printing press, but like the things that the cotton stuff, the cotton gin or whatever. They're like, we're going to destroy this thing, and it's like, well, it actually ended up creating more jobs in the end. That has happened over and over. That does not mean it will always happen forever. I think AI is the kind of disruptive technology that if it goes as far as people imagine it will go, which, you know, our imaginations sometimes get away with us when like imagining what something like this can do. It's not as effective as some people think it is. But if it is, maybe it could be totally disruptive like that. But in gaming, we've seen technologies that create things, that make things more efficient. The example I use is like Epic Games has a button now in Unreal that, like, you press that and like it can kind of just make a city for you, an open world city. Like they showed that off in Unreal Engine 5 a couple years ago now, and that is something that required tons of artists, a lot of time to create in the past. And now, like, there's a button that does that, so like all those people are going to lose their job, right? No way in hell those people would start making stuff inside of buildings so they can now make those worlds feel even more alive in a lot of other ways. Because you can't. So now every game has an open world city that now you have to stand out in that environment. So
yeah, exactly. As you say, if you can just push a button, then if you're just using the AI generated city, you're not going to stand out in a very, very competitive field. So as you say, it's like basically the AI, and this to me, again, possible, you know, good use of AI is it's providing a template. It's providing a canvas, and then you go in and you can change stuff rather than starting from zero.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, we'll see. It could be bad. It could be. I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
But I do know that we will find out because they're gonna use it. They are gonna use AI. So and that's what this was leading to. I don't think Kareem Chowdhury leaving Microsoft suggests that they're not going full steam ahead. They move that team under hardware. They're just gonna build it straight into everything, and it's gonna be in every game in some way. All right, moving along here. Yoshi P says it's time for another Final Fantasy Tactics game. This is from My Nintendo News. Final Fantasy Tactics fans will be pleased to hear that Final Fantasy director Naoki Yoshida is up for creating a new game in the classic series if the opportunity presents itself. The news was shared in an interview with The Gamer, in which Yoshi P said that he's a huge fan of the series and thinks the time is right for the franchise to be revisited. Whether or not it actually does depends on the team's busy schedule. But it's good to hear that it's one title on their wish list. We have a lot of our staff who worked on previous games like Final Fantasy Tactics or Final Fantasy 12, so you're going to have a lot of that tactics feel. A lot of the same people are on the team. He adds that he's very happy to hear another tactics game suggested because the team are fans of the game themselves. We love tactics as well. It's probably about time we do a new one. Final Fantasy Tactics, of course, Emma, still one of the few games on the NVIDIA leak list that has not been confirmed or come out. It's almost certainly going to.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Final Fantasy Tactics, y'all, is so good. I am hard pressed to determine what my favorite Final Fantasy game is because of Final Fantasy Tactics. It is so good. The story, Game of Thrones wishes. Okay? Like, Final Fantasy Tactics is it. And you know, Final Fantasy 12 is set in the same world of Ivalice. I mean, look, give me another Final Fantasy Tactics. Just give me OG Final Fantasy Tactics, the remaster War of the Lions, which came out for PSP, which was outstanding. outstanding. And I believe it was on the PS Vita as well.
Just real quick, it's almost certainly been longer since from that to now than it was from Final Fantasy Tactics to War of the Lions. Like, it's probably been like twice as long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, twice as long.
Yeah.
Dude. And also, it's like, obviously, we've seen with the things that Yoshi P and Naoki Yoshida's team has worked on, that they do that, like, classic fantasy Final Fantasy extremely well. And, you are, like... Again, it's super interesting to me, this whole, Final Fantasy 16, it's so dark and serious. It's the most serious Final Fantasy there's ever been. And I'm like, y'all clearly never played Final Fantasy Tactics. That was the OG. And I would love to see Yoshi P's team take this on and have him be at the head of this creatively. Like, I'm all the way in. Can't wait. Just love it.
So what do you think the plan is? Do you think the plan is maybe remaster Final Fantasy Tactics one more time for modern systems and then go into a new offshoot at some point?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that's definitely the move. The thing about Final Fantasy Tactics is that, like, it's still so playable, because I will say that I feel like one genre that has not gone through a huge upgrade. Yes, they have added, like, battle animations that look fancy and stuff, but by and large, the turn-based tiles tactical RPG, it hasn't really changed that much.
No, not much. No.
So Final Fantasy Tactics still super playable, and I would be curious to see what this team would do in terms of creating a modern turn-based tactics. Tile game.
Real quick, Turbo Sean says that it was 10 years from the original to War of the Lions, and it's been 17 years since War of the Lions.
So you were right, almost twice.
That's deeply upsetting.
Yep.
And then, so some people also are saying no judges, which that's from Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, I believe. Yeah. And I like the judges. I want them to come back. All right, maybe not the whole game or anything, but like a couple of. Like maybe a stretch where the judges show up. They're great. They force you to like engage with some of the other mechanics and stuff. I don't know. I like how did you feel about the judges in Tactics Advance? Did you ever play that one?
I never played Tactics Advance. No, as I say, it's like I loved the original Final Fantasy Tactics, and then I started playing. Not so long after Valkyrie Profile came out with a tactics game that I really, really enjoyed, called like Covenant of the Plume, I want to say. And then I played a little like D-Skya, and then, just got into Fire Emblem.
Yep. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. I mean, listen, I think we probably hear about a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster or remake or something pretty soon, and then I hope they do announce a new one. Final Fantasy IX is the other one that they're also remaking. Yes. So probably not quite as ambitious as some of these other games, but they have a lot of Final Fantasy stuff happening. As long as they get back to Tactics, I'll be happy. I'm a big fan of Tactics, especially Tactics Advance, but I've enjoyed what I've played of Tactics in the past as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, the Sonic movie producers are just on one. We'll talk about that. We'll be right back. All right, let's get back into it. And that means Sonic movies to be Avengers-level events, says franchise producer from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. 2024 is going to be a big year for Sonic. Not only is Sonic Cross Shadow Generations landing on the Switch in autumn, but fans will also be treated to the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie on the 20th of December and a dedicated Knuckles series later this month on 26th of April. That's on Paramount Plus. So, of course, this is the year of Sonic the Hedgehog, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles is actually happening this year. Regarding the latter, franchise producer Toby Asher recently spoke to Pace Magazine to describe how the Knuckles series came about and how the studio is leveraging these smaller projects to enable the Sonic movies to be Avengers-level events. He's got a quote here, but let's just stop. I mean, I get what they're going for, Emma.
Yes.
And you know what? And frankly, if they're like able to like make the budgets always make sense,
sure,
it does feel like they're kind of pulling this off a little bit, like, where it's like, yeah, okay, you're gonna build Knuckles up more in the show. You could probably introduce some like more tertiary characters in the show, and then bring them all together in a couple of these movies. Yeah, I see what they're going for. Is that right for Sonic? I suppose it seems like it's working. How do you feel about it?
I also feel like it's working. I would just like to relay to you my movie theater going experience
to
see the very first of these Sonic films. I have to say the second one a lot better than the first one. The first one was basically, it was like any of those. It was like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It was like any of those ones where it's like, you know, human being plus animated creatures. Right. It is not better than any of those movies, but people thought it was because they love Sonic. Right. Okay. Ben Schwartz.
It was a little bit better than Hop. Sonic. It was a little bit better than Hop.
A little bit better than Hop, which also has James Marsden in it. Yeah. I adore James Marsden. I love that he's like, yeah, I just want to like make movies and enjoy my family, and I don't want to win any awards. And then Jury Duty comes out, and it's unbelievable. But anyway, I digress. So you would have thought I went to an afternoon. This was my mistake, as I went to like a 3 p.m. screening of Sonic the Hedgehog on City Walk. This is in early 2020. It was as if I were at a rowdy screening of Cats, except for instead of a bunch of drunk adults, it was a bunch of children.
Sugared up kids,
Sugared up children whose parents just decided for that hour and a half they did not have to parent their children.
Yeah, there's no laws when it's Sonic time.
They were running in the aisles. They were screaming at the screen. There was like call and response. I was like, what is happening? So I'm saying something about Sonic is working. Sonic, it's Avengers for children. And I don't know if that was really necessarily their target audience, but again, it's very smart because grown-ups are going to show up to see this because they're going, oh, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. And Jim Carrey's having a great time in those movies. Shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely on one. But yeah, I see their point.
And also, like, the more we talk it out, the more I'm like, no, maybe they're right. Because the TV shows, okay, the thing that happened with Marvel, which I was a big fan of when the movies were happening, getting to the in-game stuff. And then, you know, a lot of the TV shows started coming out, and I tried to keep up, but that was out of a sense of like, hey, I've spent all this time investing my emotions into this story and these characters, and I got a big payoff in the end. That was great. I really thought that the emotional payoff that happened with all those movies was fantastic. So and I've already sunk all this cost into there, so I should carry that momentum forward with these shows, and they just didn't do it for me, and it felt like homework, and it got out of hand. I think, and that part of that is I'm a busy adult. I got things going on. I have to pick and choose how I spend my leisure time. The children-based audience for Sonic the Hedgehog maybe makes some more sense because they got time to watch a TV show.
They got time.
They'll eat up all that slop. It don't matter to them. And so the fact that then they can, and kids love that too, like having like a story payoff where it's like, I watched the show, so now I get that reference. That means way more to a kid than it ever even meant to me. So maybe this makes a lot of sense.
I actually think this is genius because, as you say, I can even remember being a kid and being so excited when I understood a reference. I mean, and kids, their brains are sponges. They just absorb everything. They're going to remember everything. They're putting all of these details into these Marvel shows and doing these callbacks. But I'm worrying about, did I pay my electric bill? Children, they don't have that.
Yep, exactly. So it's like, I think that them being able to take all this time to invest in the Sonic universe is probably actually going to pay off. Now, I mean, if there's 15 Sonic shows, maybe that has diminishing returns. Almost certainly it would. But if they can, bounce them back and forth between 1 or 2 shows and then another movie every couple of years, the fact that they've already wrapped up Sonic 3, that's a machine. They are just throttling through those,
churning them out,
and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. So yeah, good for them.
but basic Ali Lexi in the basically Lexi in the chat. I'm in agreement with you. I was literally just about to say that big cat movie when I want it to be like My Neighbor Totoro, but it's it's the big cat.
I think this gives them space to, like, even if it was a series of shorts, like silent shorts about Big the Cat going fishing and just like having some fun like misadventures, like that would, like, you could put that on Paramount Plus or whatever, put that on TikTok. I don't know. There's a lot of space for them to get creative with that stuff. I don't know where the kids are. All right, Star Wars Outlaws story trailer debuts tomorrow. This is going to be tomorrow, Tuesday, April 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central European time. I am excited about this because I'm looking forward to this game, and I keep forgetting it's coming out this year. I know, we got through Dragon's Dogma 2, and then we were looking at the schedule. And it's not a lot left announced for this year. And then I was forgetting about Outlaws. I do think that Dragon Age game is going to come out later this year. There's a handful of other things. But this is honestly, for me, this could be a really big one. I thought that this game looked very, very well made when we saw the debut at Summer Game Fest last year. I can't quite place it. And since then, it's been one of those ones where I'm I'm going to put that in the back of my mind because I bet it's so far off. And now it's oh, no, wait, no, it's this year. And I am, what's happening here is I'm going to watch this story trailer and I'm going to decide whether or not I believe it's really coming out this year at that point. And then if it looks good, it looks promising, then this is going to be hey, I am fully anticipating this, especially as someone who's a big Star Wars fan. So, how are you looking forward to Outlaws? Is this something that you've had on your radar, and how do you feel about this trailer?
So here is the thing about me and Star Wars. I love all the Star Wars shit that's not about Jedi. And that's
same.
What Star Wars Outlaws is. So I am actually very, very excited for this. The way to make me not excited for this is if there's any mention of Luke Skywalker. Okay, Star Wars, why do you try to make your galaxy so small all the time? There are infinite possibilities. And I would like to see this just live in its own space in the galaxy far, far away. I am excited about this. I love the little pet creature, the gal who is our heroine. I'm totally into that. I'm actually very, very excited for this game. And don't get me wrong, I liked the Jedi games, Jedi Survivor, whatever.
Fallen Order before that,
Fallen Order. There we go. It's whatever the first one was. Those games are fun. And I do like them, and I think that they are a nice amount of video game. But yes, I am very excited about Star Wars Outlaws.
I'm 100% with you about I don't need Jedi and everything. I get that Jedi are a hugely appealing thing to a ton of people, and to me in a lot of ways. But really, the biggest thing that always attracted me to Star Wars from the first time watching A New Hope was it felt like a real lived-in world where people were scraping by and there was an economy. I think about Luke selling his speeder all the time, where he's
exactly.
We got to scrape together enough money to get a ride to this planet, and I have this old thing and I'm selling it. And the new one came out, so the fucking resale value on mine dropped to the ground. This sucks. And it's you could feel him struggling with just all these forces that aren't the Force acting on his life. And so that's why when Andor comes around and it's let's talk about someone just trying to get by, just trying to live, and then how all that stuff feed into the themes of, and here's why even that person who doesn't have the Force and doesn't consider themselves political, is just trying to get by, here's why all of that ends up with them also fighting against the Empire. That is such perfect storytelling to me. That's what I want. And
Agreed.
Outlaws feels like it could be very much that thing. And just an outlaw, literally an outlaw, a smuggler, trying to do that stuff trying to get by, doing crimes, petty crimes to make a buck here and there. That's also very appealing to me. So
yes, I'm in. I really do think that Star Wars Outlaws has a ton of potential. So looking forward to seeing that story trailer, baby.
And it's this is massive, right? This is the Division team using their Snowdrop engine. Just such a competent team. I thought that Avatar game was pretty decent in the end, all things considered. And it feels like this one's going to be even better. So we'll see. And her hair looks very 1970s as well. Which is correct for Star Wars.
Absolutely. There's somebody in Empire Strikes Back when they're all evacuating Cloud City running out with an ice cream maker. Okay, that is Star Wars.
Yep. She's got the Terrence Howard hairdo out there, so good for her. Super Mario Maker community clears trimming the herbs. Oh, I almost said herbs. Trimming the herbs just days before Wii U online shutdown. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Remember how a special task force dubbed Team 0% managed to clear every level in Super Mario Maker before Nintendo's Wii U online shutdown? Well, there was only one illegitimate upload titled Trimming the Herbs, I'm just going to say it, which the community was determined to overcome. Now, just days remaining, this level has officially been cleared. As highlighted on the game's subreddit, the community persisted and this level was conquered. It was completed by SannyX91 SMM2, and you could see the flawlessly executed 25-second run in a video. The stage had previously been beaten, but by a tool-assisted speed run. So they used the tool to basically play the game for them to get through this level, and now finally a real human has done it. And the Wii U online services are shutting down today. So just under the wire, they were able to do that. So this incredible feat of human skill and persistence, and then also very sad that Nintendo Wii U online services are shutting down. I did get in there and download a bunch of Dan's levels on Super Mario Maker, so now I have those locally.
Nice.
If there's any other Super Mario Maker levels I should get, I got some spaces left. Let me know, people. I'll get in there and make that happen. This is a bummer. There are efforts by the community to revive some Nintendo online services for the 3DS and the Wii U. I'm not going to name them because I found out that Nintendo listens to shows, and that's how they find out about stuff.
Yeah, so. that's how they find these people and shut them down.
I hope that these efforts are so robust that they can enable something like the original Super Mario Maker to live. If we got like a hankering over a giant bomb to be like, hey, let's go back to the original Super Mario Maker and make levels for each other. I hope this effort makes that possible. But we'll see.
Yeah, as you say, this again goes back to the idea of games preservation being something that's only been taken into account fairly recently. And this is another layer of this is a game that was about user-generated content.
Yes. Yep.
And that falls in a big gray area when it comes to like who owns that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, gonna hit this story that I skipped up here. Yuji Naka returns to Twitter by accusing Dragon Quest producer of lying to court. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Last year, Naka was sentenced to 30 months in prison, suspended for 4 years, and given 2 fines totaling 173 million yen, which is about $1.2 million, after he pled guilty to buying shares based on inside information during his time working at publisher Square Enix. Naka hadn't posted on his Twitter account since November of 2022, which was shortly before he was formally indicted. But on Sunday, he returned to comment on news that the top, Dragon Quest producer Miyake will reportedly be reassigned at Square Enix. Miyake is credited as executive producer for Naka's Square Enix title, Balan Wonderworld. Shout-outs to Balan Wonderworld, as always. In a Twitter post, Naka alleged that Miyake lied in court documents. Man, my throat is just dying today.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm just falling apart a little bit, Emma. Just a little bit.
It's the mysterious plants that are descending to the planet in the midst of the solar eclipse.
That's right.
If you see them laying on the side of the road, just let them lay there. Don't feed them. They're
crawling up my leg right now. In a Twitter post, Naka alleged that Miyake lied in court documents, presumably part of his insider trading trial. This is a quote, I guess. Finally, I was hoping he would be gone soon because he is the kind of person who would submit a note with a lie with evidence to a court of law. I've never met him, but the new Square Enix president might be a good person. That is Yuji Naka saying that. Miyake, a director on the board who joined Square Enix in 1992 and had long overseen the RPG franchise, will now lead the Japanese company's mobile games, according to Bloomberg's sources. After his arrest in November 2022, it was claimed that Naka, who was working on Balan Wonderworld for Square Enix at the time, was made aware that Japanese developer Aiming, was working on a new Dragon Quest mobile game called Dragon Quest Tact before it was officially announced. Naka was arrested for a second time in December 2022 relating to allegations that he had carried out a similar insider trading scheme after learning confidential information that Square was planning to make Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier with mobile developer A-Team Entertainment. Yuji Naka's out there trying to claim that he's been framed by someone at Square Enix. This is rough stuff. Yeah, what do you think? I'm
sure you have, Yuji Naka. My thing about Yuji Naka is you invented the online console game. You really did. You were unbelievably influential on my childhood, playing Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast. I got a keyboard. I got the Dreamcast keyboard so I could chat with all my friends who were English speakers, and then I would just communicate with the pre-set phrases with all the Japanese players that I was playing with. And basically invented the sort of predecessor to what like the Monster Hunter games would become.
Destiny, yeah.
Buddy, no, you were okay. You were not framed. I mean, maybe so, but I just if this is a criminal offense that you have been charged with more than once.
Yeah,
I don't think you're being framed.
Yep, I think you might have just done a little insider training. Trading is all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing where it's just a blatant thing, like finding out about something, investing in it before the public knows. Yeah, everyone kind of knows at this point. Yeah. Don't do that. Just don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
You didn't get a hot stock tip. You learned something from the company you worked at and didn't tell anybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yuji Naka is like he didn't actually go to prison. That 30 months prison sentence was suspended. So it's like that. It's like hanging over him if he were to like violate the law again. So it's like, man, just you got to be quiet. You just got to go shut your mouth up for the next couple of years. Get past all this, and then you won't have to deal with the repercussions if you were to like. You know, poke the bear, and then someone's like, "Well, here's another time you did insider trading or something like that." So
yeah. You're not making a good case for yourself here. Let's just put it that way.
Right? Does Yuji Naka ever come back and make another video game?
I don't know, man. As you say, if he lays low for a while, just get yourself out of the public spotlight, it's very possible that ultimately this is a blip on the radar, and he is able to make a comeback. At the end of the day, it's insider trading. Capitalism's a hell of a drug. And you know, I hate to be like, this isn't the worst crime.
It's no one got hurt. I don't think. I guess I'm sure someone could show me how people get hurt from insider trading. But people are bringing up other famous ne'er-do-wells in video gaming. So Yuji Naka go team up with Tommy Tallarico and Dennis Dyack. Bring the all-star team together. Let's make it happen. I would be legit excited if all those guys got together. We're gonna make a game. It would be a shit show.
Awful.
The egos of Tommy Tallarico would be incredible. I would listen to a podcast of him and Dennis Dyack because they would just slowly fall apart over a matter of weeks. Man, make that happen.
Yeah.
All right. Finally here, the first episode of Amazon's Fallout show will be viewable on Twitch. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. On the same day as the whole season is made available on Amazon's Prime Video subscription service, fans will be able to watch the first episode on Twitch via a number of streamers, including Shroud, Brooke AB, and The Only Ryan. The show, starring a bunch of cool people like Walter Goggins, is coming here very soon from Jonathan Nolan and some others, people that worked on HBO's Westworld. The show I think is going to have all of its episodes hit Amazon Prime at once.
It is.
Yes. So this is like a little teaser if you don't have Prime, or maybe get to convince people to open up Prime. How do you feel about them showing it alongside? Because presumably this is going to be the streamers sitting on the screen watching the show alongside
and
the content.
Able to actually show it on screen. So I mean, I don't know if you've played very much with the Twitch watch party feature with Amazon Prime.
Big fan of watch parties, which they're getting rid of, and I'm very sad about that.
Yeah, we did when Rings of Power dropped a few years ago, and that did the week-to-week model. On the Fandom Twitch channel, Bailey and I did watch parties every single week for it was really so much fun. So yeah, I mean this. And look, obviously, like if you have an Amazon Prime account, problem solved. You know the watch party feature still exists right now. When are they retiring that?
I think it's in the next couple of months.
But it's not. It's not
either later this month or in May.
Yeah. I mean, maybe unless maybe they are retiring it right before the Fallout show, which
probably not
which would suck for smaller creators who that's like a really great way to engage with your community. I guess, sure, that maybe they're doing this to convince people to subscribe to Amazon Prime if they don't have it. Who out there doesn't have an Amazon Prime account?
Honestly, that makes me think that this is about like, hey, people have Amazon Prime, but they don't actually open Prime Video all that often. So what can we do? How can we leverage it to get people to like use this thing that they already have? And
sure,
I think this is about that. I think
use this thing that they already have and then pay the upgrade to not have commercials. Like I
think there's part of them is like, you know, we see a certain number of people who will never cancel Prime once they start watching Prime Video or something like that. And so like maybe they, the way that these companies behave, I think it's very hard to decipher exactly how they what their key performance and indicators are. I think it's easy to assume like, yeah, they want those conversions to the higher tier, and I'm sure they do want that. But I think there's part of them that's like, hey, we are at Prime Video and we have a relationship with Twitch, and we need to have certain numbers to prove to our bosses whether that those, you know, and those are viewership numbers to show engagement, to show that we're pulling our weight when it comes just to the Prime subscription. And like, so let's go leverage what we could do with Twitch to make that stuff happen. It could be that simple. I don't know.
Yeah. And I did want to say that in chat, Pac-Man has said that watch parties are actually already gone as of a few days ago.
Wow, that stinks.
That sucks.
It was super broken for a long time there, especially whenever I tried to load it up on the Twitch Android app, which sucks overall. Yeah. Which is a bad app in general.
Totally. It's a terrible app anyway, but right. Yeah.
And that's, you know what, that's maybe the real, like, okay, yeah, Fallout. Twitch just feels like it's slowly dying in a lot of ways. Not like clearly has huge viewership numbers.
Of course.
And we understand the cost of a stream. And so when I look at like all of these other features that were like built up, they were gonna, the Twitch stream together and or whatever it was, the multi-team streaming stuff. It's like, well, then, you know, all these things that were making it cooler or more convenient or more efficient or work in a more slicker way. All that stuff got tried. They abandoned it, and now it's sort of just either a vestige that hangs around. It doesn't really work anymore. Or it is something like watch parties, which was like that, a vestige that was broken in a lot of ways, and now they just completely ripped it out. They're not trying new, exciting things. It feels like they are in the maintenance period of, let's just make as much money as we can, while spending as little money as possible, and just let it coast. And it's like, oh boy, we're already there with Twitch. That's maybe a bad sign. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Twitch is such an interesting example because, you know, in my experience with Twitch, there is a lot of there's a big awareness that Twitch's audience is going to age out of Twitch because, you know, a lot of the really, really big streamers that are getting these huge numbers in terms of viewership, a lot of their viewers are young and don't have disposable income. It's like we were talking about earlier. I don't have time to watch somebody play Fortnite on Twitch for 4 hours. You know who does? Children.
Yep.
So it feels like over the years, they've made so many attempts to create premium content, and that audience just isn't on Twitch. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah. And it feels like, you know, someone's like, oh, there's new 12-year-olds every day. But I don't know. The next generation of 12-year-olds feels like they're getting on YouTube Shorts and Twitch, or TikTok, excuse me. And then when they want to watch live content creators, well, guess what? Those platforms are doing that now.
Yeah, they are.
And Twitch is still going to be getting its fair share of all that audience, of course. But the point is always, with all these conversations, where's the growth come from? Because that's what these companies all care about. And I think we're looking at Twitch, and they tried a bunch of things to grow. And I think it feels like they have admitted to themselves that, hey, they've done all those things. None of them really worked. So here we are. Just throw in more ads and take a bigger cut of the you know, your biggest creators' revenue. And then, you know, if the Android app is broken, so what? Can they watch ads still on there? Well, yeah, the ads load. Okay, good. Yeah. That's all that matters. So. Yeah, you know, this is where everything's headed. And boy, it sucks though. It really sucks. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the poll question from last week. I asked, are you getting excited for the summer game mess? 28% said yes, I'm already excited. 31% said no, E3 is dead. And 41% say I'll get excited when Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo confirm shows. I am excited for myself, but I'm kind of with everybody. Once we hear all the confirmations, that's when we'll really get into stuff. Yeah. But as it stands right now, I am like thinking about getting ready for our summer game mess. We're going to be doing GB at night and all that stuff.
We should brand it as Summer Game Mess. That's great.
That's my brand, Jeff Grubb's Summer Game Mess.
Yeah.
When Jeff Keighley was doing Summer Game Fest, that's what I did. Right. I was like, I'll just do Jeff Grubb's Summer Game Mess instead.
That's great.
So, Summer Game Mess everywhere. I love it.
That's good branding.
All right. That's an old poll, by the way. Sean forgot to put up Friday's poll, even though I never asked him to do that. He just takes these things upon himself. What was the Friday poll? We could do both then. All right. Well, here's today's poll. Are you excited about Star Wars Outlaws? Yes or no? And then let me see if I can remember Friday's poll. I think I wrote it down here. Let me see here. Or is this from a couple weeks ago? What do you prefer, higher resolutions or higher frame rates? So okay, we'll just do the one. We'll do. Are you excited about Star Wars Outlaws? All right, what's frame rates and resolution? All right, let's do both. Cool. Never mind. I changed my mind immediately. We'll talk about the answer to both of those on Wednesday. Feel free to go to youtube.com/@GiantBomb. Hit the community tab. You can vote on the polls there. The results will come in on Wednesday's show. We'll discuss them on Tuesday. However, we have the Giant Bombcast happening. All that good stuff. Emma, why don't you tell people where they can find you as well?
Yes. So today around 10 a.m. Pacific time, you can find me out in the streets looking directly at the sun. Otherwise, you can find me at Emma Fife all over the internet, wherever Emma Fifes are sold, even though I don't particularly participate in the social media anymore. Like I said, I'm in the Discord server. So if you got anything you want to talk to me about, hit me up there. I like to keep myself in safe, nice little communities rather than throwing myself to the whims of the internet anymore.
The correct move these days. Absolutely. All right. Anything else happening on Giant Bomb? Yeah. The Bombcast will happen tomorrow. I just found out that Jan will be traveling still, so we'll try to piece one together for you, everybody, tomorrow. But there will be a Bombcast. We're going to go figure out what the rest of this week looks like. Got a meeting here to do exactly that. But you can expect Blight Club to likely return. UPF will happen, Voicemail Dump Truck, all those good shows, and then maybe we'll sneak in some other special things for you as well. There's definitely some things that we've been throwing around for a while that we want to get to. Once Dan's like back from traveling, I want to do another demo derby, things like that. But all that stuff in its time. In the meantime, Emma, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me as always.
And thank you all for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.